Can you imagine being so dedicated to advancing human consciousness that you volunteer your own time conducting more than 3,000 experiments designed to keep the lights on in children? Yeah, that's what today's guest is all about. He is here to advance consciousness, to change the world, to make it a brighter, better place for young women and businesses to profit everywhere. Let's get on with today's Beacon of Light. Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Traveling Light. I'm Lonnie Ray, your host, and I have with me today a wonderful man named Jonathan Macdonald. The reason, yes, give it a wave. For those of you on the podcast, you didn't see the parade wave, but I am so excited to have him here. Primarily one of the core reasons that we have a lack of female presence in every aspect of life is because of something that we can all probably relate to, which is perfectionism. And that's not exactly our topic today, but based on the idea of, I don't know, maybe you were raised the same way I was with be perfect, try harder. This is a no-win situation that, I don't know, personally, it caused me to cheat in school so that I could get straight A's and not get admonished at home. At least that was one avenue in which I could protect myself. But what we really need now, more than ever, and Jonathan will speak to this, no doubt, very succinctly, is that we need young women to be encouraged to be courageous and brave, not perfectionists. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here, and I hope that your listeners, especially your female listeners, will respond to our call to action, because we've got a TED talk that I think that when they watch it, every woman is going to say, wow, I can see myself there. And as we were talking yesterday, change comes from awareness of the situation. So I spent 10 years coaching primary age school children. And one of the things I noticed is that girls, when they're at that age, they're better at maths, at science, at sports. They will throw themselves into anything. They're really, really fantastic, glowing orbs of energy. And then, unfortunately, the society we live in today shows women as pop stars dancing around in their pants, or as reality TV stars, or as some other non-useful role. And it became a concern to me that as a woman looks out into the world, she doesn't see herself represented, in the things that are available to her. So I was coaching one girl who was absolutely excellent at maths, and she said, I want to be an astrophysicist. And It was like, wow, that's an incredible thing. And you just don't see it. And so the TED talk that we're going to put in the notes of this is called Teach Girls Bravery, Not Perfection. And one of the things that you said, Laurie, about cheating to get the best scores is actually something which Carol Dweck in the book Mindset related to, in that literally people with a fixed mindset, and unfortunately young girls are given a very fixed mindset in that you must be perfect, you must be polite, you can't cause a fuss, don't stick your head in, and that causes them to limit the choices they think they could make. So,
and let me just interject. Part of that is because we're attempting to fit in, when actually we were all born to be individual. And peer pressure in these, this particular age gap that you and I discussed, which was 12 to 18, is when, as you said, it gets baked in. The concept of who we are, how we're supposed to be in the world, and what our gender is supposed to show up as. And we're here to call bullshit on that, guys.
Absolutely.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. Quite so. So I basically I work for a company that does digital marketing, and that's not really what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is changing the world. I have what's known now as a divergent brain. I'm on the dyslexic spectrum, and probably if you measured me, I'm bouncing around all over different spectrums here and there. And so I see the world differently. And when I saw that TED talk, I immediately recognized it as truth. because she says boys will be encouraged to climb up to the top of the frame and dive off head first. And I actually literally was jumping across from one bunk bed to another, fell off and hit my head on the lower bunk as a child. So it's something that I really recognize. So I started thinking, okay, the woman who did the TED Talk set up a coding school for girls. And one of the things she talked about is that women would code, but if they didn't get it perfectly right, they'd delete it. And quite often they'd be sitting there with blank screens. And she says that if a boy comes to the professor and says, you know, professor, there's something wrong with my code, a girl will come to the professor and say, there's something wrong with me. And that's a big, big problem.
Yeah.
So the vision that I have is that conditioning is the way that we are all made to fit in with the society we are raised in. So it's Buddhists actually call it the conditioned realm, that this is the experience of your lived being. And I see a world where change is not happening fast enough for women to reach equality. I'm putting together a document at the moment, and only 8% of entrepreneurs are female-led companies.
Wow, only 8%.
8%. Things like in the construction industry, 18%. In fact, there's no sector in life where women are more than 32%. So there's a couple of things that occurred to me as being important and critical things in this world now moving forward from COVID. The first thing is that men have unfortunately ruled the world really since the beginning of civilization, 200,000 years. And as a result, we are missing half of all the innovation, of the passion, of the ideas, of the engagement, of the leadership. And I mean, like, I was speaking to you the other day, Lonnie, and I was saying about this 4-year-old girl that I was in the school and I was just in the playground, and she walked up to me. I've got a disability. My arm is paralyzed and it's obvious to see. And this girl looked at me, looked right in my eyes and said, "Oh, what happened to your arm?" And I said, "Oh, I fell off my bike." And she goes, "Does it hurt?" And I said, "Yeah, it does, sweetheart, it does." And she said, "I'm so sorry. I hope you get better soon." At 4.
Wow.
And that kind of emotion, that kind of compassion, men can achieve it, but as a rule, we're not encouraged to achieve it. So what do we do about the situation? Half the economy that we used to know is going to be gone. And the reality is this, that companies that want to succeed can succeed in 2 ways. The first way is to take half the population that you are currently ignoring and allow them all the opportunities that they can fulfill.
I also want to interject something in there, Jonathan.
Yep.
It was very interesting to me that if there's qualifications listed for a job, the men will apply if they have 60% of them, and the women will not apply unless they have 100% of them. So
Absolutely.
Girls, it is time for you to stand up, speak out, walk out the door, embrace who you are, because you don't need to have 100%. If these guys are getting these positions with 60, so can you, girl. And you'll learn faster, you'll be more adaptable, and certainly more trainable than someone who comes in thinking, I've got all the answers and I'm going to, bowl this over. I had to throw it in there.
Yeah, that's very good, because this exactly is growth mindset. Because if you think about it, what's happening with men is they're going in without the skills and having to learn and having to grow. Whereas women, by virtue of the fact they're only going for things they can do, are by the very nature stuck at a certain level because they don't think they can reach further, where obviously they can. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times what they currently think they can do. I'm a national neuro-linguistic programmer. I've been using it for many years, and I have frequently facilitated results hundreds of times better than other people can achieve.
Wow.
So anyway, basically what I've conceived of is this grand plan. We're in a situation now where retail is probably not going to return to the same way it has been, and if we wait for change to happen at the rate it's happening, the stat in the UK is that at the rate of female MPs, it will take another 250 years before there is a before there's equality in politics. And that's a disgrace because, so for example, there was a thing called the tampon tax. So tampons were VAT rated because they were deemed to be a luxury item. Now, there's no way, if there was a 50-50 representation, that law would have stood for any more than a day, because it's not a luxury. I mean, what the hell? So the idea I have, and this is what I'm looking to do, and hopefully people will contact me, I foresee 10,000 woman campuses. They are places where women are surrounded by other women who throw themselves into things, who are prepared to fail and try and get up and pick themselves up, who are not judged on the same way, because education is so warped, the entire society is so warped against women, that only in a sisterhood, an environment where you see your peers, you see your mentors, you see yourself reflected, is an environment where girls will go, well, yeah, actually, I'm really interested in becoming a truck driver or a forestry agent or a lumberjack or a construction person or a civil engineer or whatever it might be. And so I see these institutions where we take girls from 12, and rather than doing high school or middle school or whatever it's called in the country you're in, they go into this environment which is like an apprenticeship of sorts, because it's about doing. And it's not even a place where we really teach. It's more a place where a woman's interests are catered for and encouraged.
I would call this an incubator. I think it's an excellent idea. And young ladies out there, the other women around you are not your competition. Let's look at the sisterhood that we actually were born into. Link arms, circle the wagons, build a bonfire in the middle, and celebrate each other. Jonathan has an outstanding idea. He's also an incredible speaker. He's extremely inspiring. He has worked with the youngins and everything over that, that doesn't qualify as a youngin. I urge you to reach out to Jonathan. In the show notes are the ways in which you can hire him for a speaker or pursue further this big vision that he has, because we need to make a change. We need you girls to be brave and courageous.
Absolutely. And I see, so here's what I want. For people listening, this is what we're looking for: to build 5 of these estates, these 10,000 women estates that will graduate 2,000 girls every year in all sorts of spectacular fields that they've not considered before. I'm looking for around about $3 billion US. And here's the point. If you've got that kind of money and you're an investor or you're a person with money, here's how it works. At the moment, 28% of sick leave is for mental health illness. And I was speaking to a chap earlier, and he said that actually, because men will never admit mental illness, about 40 to 45% of all sick leave is mental health related. Men don't talk to each other. Men don't release or admit their fears, concerns, especially about mental health. Women are typically, not always, but typically more supportive. So there's 28% immediately available by choosing women as opposed to or as well as men. And then you've got the 50% of all of the ideas you don't currently have. So here's the plan. We build these institutions, we graduate these girls, and we condition them in a way where they feel empowered, and actually we're going with the word potency for their the strength they have, and the investors will get first dibs at the graduates of our schools, whatever we call them, and only on these circumstances. Yes, you'll get first dibs, but only for middle, higher, senior and C-suite management. You will not take women and pay them less than a man. You will not take women and hold them below the glass ceiling. You will take women because they can advance your business. And so investors, bottom line is this: you invest £1 and you're going to get £28 back.
Oh, wow. I don't mean to cut you off, but you said a mouthful right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, guys, I really want you to follow up with Jonathan, because he has this all figured out. And we know that you're out there. Your company is in support of female uh, intelligence and compassion. I mean, there's so many ways that it's not yet showing up in the workplace, and he is here to help you do that. Thank you for being on the show, Jonathan. Is there
It was
any?
my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Guys, if there's anything that you want to know further about this, please check the show notes. Jonathan Macdonald is a blessing on this planet, and he will most definitely help you and yours travel lighter
Stop it.
in life.
Thank you
It's
very
true.
much.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
See you guys.
This is Lonnie Ray, and I'm out for now, but I'll be back.